crew cab, double cabs, discounted up to $9,000 off. Great selection, Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, right on I-40.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
It's 11:06 on WSIC Radio, and you're listening to We're Just Saying with Senator Vicky Sawyer and David. Like to be part of the show, 844 Studio 4. We are streaming live on the WSIC News app, so check us out. Senator Sawyer, we're finally back together.
We are back together, and I'm just starting out the show as normal. I didn't have my headphones on. I didn't know. I was still talking to you. I wasn't. It's like we're back, and we're starting out like we usually do.
Exactly. The time apart has not honed our entry into these things very well, but that's okay. I think it's part of our charm. I really do.
I hope so.
I really do.
So.
But no, so much has happened since the last time you and I were here.
Correct.
And I know, I was on with Representative Sayin a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I know we had a fill-in show last week.
Yes.
And
I had my daughter.
You had your daughter the week before that.
Commissioner Hout.
And Commissioner Hout. So much has happened since you and I were actually on the air together.
That's
again.
right.
And so, Representative Sayin and I touched on this, but now that you and I are together, we also have to us one of our conspiracy theories that we have been high on for a while has officially happened. Right? Joe Biden no longer the nominee. Something we've been talking about for a while. Though I thought they would replace him with Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
That obviously has not taken place. It's going to be Kamala Harris.
Sure.
Let me back up. What were you doing? What were you thinking when you heard that Biden was dropping out?
David and I were right.
Yes, exactly. That's the first thing across. It's like, we called it.
We called it. Also, apparently he dropped out and got 3 inches taller. Have you noticed that?
I have seen seen the pictures, and I have seen the pictures, and I'm kind of like, that's a little awkward.
Yeah.
But is that a body double?
I mean, we were
Maybe
on
that's his robot. I don't know, but it's so funny because and then obviously the Trump assassination attempt.
Yes, gosh.
That we hadn't got a chance, you and I, to talk about that. More and more continues to come out about that. I mean, almost daily about what a debacle it was.
Yeah.
And there's a new video came out, I think, this week that showed actually the shooter. It was videoed him running across the roof to go get into position. And I don't know if you watched the FBI hearings or the Secret Service hearings when Congress was asking questions about this. It is clear it was a failure from end to end.
Yeah.
The only thing that you can even point to as potential success is the agents that jumped on him after the shots ran out and and took him off stage. Absent that, complete failure.
So now, we are conspiracy theorists a little bit. I mean, do you think it's an inside job? I mean, or do you think it is just truly a failure or derelict of duty?
I think do I think there was an inside the job plot in order to set all of this up and everything like that? No.
Yeah.
What I do believe is that this was the culmination of a concerted attempt by a democratically led administration, a democratically led FBI, a democratically led Secret Service, who despised Trump to the point they were perfectly fine in the lapses in security, in refusing calls for more agents that was put out multiple times apparently by the campaign. I think that this was the culmination of a concerted effort, I won't call it a plot, but to do as much or do as little as possible in the protection of the former president due to their personal biases against him, their personal feelings about him. And I do believe that.
Yeah.
I think all the evidence continues to point to that, because absent that, there is no way to explain the gross incompetence and negligence that went into this other than it being intentional. And I can't take myself to the point to believe that they wanted this to happen or plotting for it to happen or set it up to happen. I believe that their willful negligence, because of how they feel about Trump, is what caused it.
Yeah, I hope and pray that is the case, because I sometimes lean to the other side and thinking, man, was this all set up? And it just happened this way. And then I start thinking about how much ammunition I need to buy and how many how many tons of like food prep that need to go into my new root cellar that I'm going to have to build.
Yeah,
and,
your bunker.
Bunker, and maybe I should go look for some property in the mountains so I can go hibernate.
Now, where were you when you heard about the assassination attempts?
Oh gosh, it's been so long ago. I don't even remember.
So I was at lunch. I was out of town. I
was at home
and in Las Vegas, and I was actually at lunch when I heard about it.
Yes. Okay. I was at home and I just turned on the news and phone blew up and started, going through everything and seeing what was going on. But yeah, it's just crazy. Now, speaking of crazy, North Carolina's own Governor Cooper has been taken out of consideration.
Well, if you believe the news stories, took himself out of consideration.
Oh, yeah.
If you believe the news stories.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because, all right, so obviously we love a good theory.
Yes,
Here,
we
conspiracy
do.
or otherwise. Why do you... So I think first thing that people brought up was, well, could he not pass the vetting? I find that very hard to believe.
Yeah.
The man's been in office for a very, very long time, a very big microscope on him. If there was something in his closet, trust me, North Carolina Republicans had been looking for it for many a year.
Yeah.
If there was some reason he couldn't pass vetting, I feel like that would have been known by now. So I don't buy that theory at all.
Agreed.
But why do you think he did it?
Well, he said that he did it because he didn't want to be leaving the state in the hands of Mark Robinson, who's the current lieutenant governor, when he's traveling to do other things.
And I don't buy that either.
That was kind of the thing. Now, I will tell you that from folks inside the belt, Governor Cooper is probably one of the savviest politicians that you will ever meet. The man's never lost an election, and he is just really politically calculated and just brilliant. So the conspiracy would be that, he feels like either the Harris campaign is kind of set up for a bad wave. You'd have a second year of Trump, and then the political winds would be pro-Democratic in 2 years, especially when Senator Tillis is coming up on the battlefield for a re-election. So the thought is maybe that he danced with the VP just to get some more name ID nationally, sits back, waits for Trump to win the election, and then in 2 years we'll be able to ride a Democratic wave, because usually that's what happens after an election from one party to the next. So that's kind of where the
and I actually agree with that.
Do you really?
I agree. Roy Cooper is not stupid. Jumping on to a Harris campaign, I think the majority of Democratic politicians would tell you is probably not going to end well.
Yeah.
I mean, all the tea leaves point right now to a loss for Harris.
Kinda, but have you seen the polls?
Well, see,
I pulled some polling, and maybe it's just the honeymoon thing, but in North Carolina, it does show that Trump has a 2% lead over Harris, but nationally in some swing states like Pennsylvania and a few others, this new honeymoon period's really jumped her up. Now, again, that could go back down, or maybe it continues to rise. I don't know.
Well, I think if the media actually has her talk in anything but a rally, right, in an unscripted interview or something like that, people will remember the word salad, the lack of qualifications, the flat out incompetence of, because remember, Biden's record is her record.
Right.
So for all the reasons you didn't want to vote for Joe Biden, if unless his age was your sole reason for not wanting to vote for Joe Biden, her record is his record.
Right.
And despite the whitewashing, she was put in charge of the border. There's footage out there of it, and we saw what our border was. She's a major flip-flopper on all issues. So I think as that comes to light, that honeymoon period, that jump might be ending.
Yeah, I'm sure that Republicans are, reshuffling the deck to make sure that they have a different campaign strategy. But she only has 100 days or 96 days left until the election. And will that be enough time to accurately portray the terrible job that she's done as vice president? I don't know if it breaks through the noise or not.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. You're listening to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio. We'll be right back.
We'll return with more of NC Senator Vicky Sawyer, and We're Just Saying after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Oh boy, a lot going on in the weather department for today. High heat again, that's going to be our big talker as temperatures climb into the mid and upper 90s. Feels like temperatures over 100, maybe even up to 110 in some spots. Heat advisories in effect for part of the Lake Norman area, and we'll watch for around scattered thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. Gusty winds and frequent lightning possible in those. Still hot, upper 80s near 90 as we go into the weekend with scattered thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Serenity Now Massage Therapy.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Brookdale Village in Huntersville welcomes back Dave Scott Crow and his Amusination Academy performance on Thursday, August 1st. Dave's concert and Pick Me Up open mic are events for the kids and the entire family. The show begins at 4:30 p.m. on the green. Parents, grandparents, and kids of all ages are welcome on Thursday afternoon at Brookdale Village for Dave Scott Crow's Amusination Academy. Langtree Live in Mooresville continues their free concert series on Thursday, August 1st. Langtree Lake Norman is open for eats and drinks all afternoon, with Bad Romeo taking the stage at 7 p.m. From AC/DC to Whitesnake, Bad Romeo will bring back your 80s rock memories. Grab your lawn chairs, arrive early to get your favorite spot, and enjoy Langtree before, during, and after the show. We'll see you in Mooresville Thursday night for the Bad Romeo concert at Langtree Lake Norman. Friday night, Brookdale Village hosts Live Under the Oaks in Huntersville. String Theory presents a free concert from 6 to 8. Brookdale restaurants are open for dinner, while Red Rocks will serve beverages on site at the concert. Come on out Friday night for the String Theory concert at Brookdale Village. The Cookout Monster Truck Bash is at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday, August 17th. Sparks will fly as the metal-bashing 2,000 horsepower machines return for a night of high-flying action on the planet's most diabolical outdoor course. Gates open at 4 p.m. Bring a Cookout Cup for free early access to the pit party beginning at 3:30. Pit party includes monster truck rides, inflatable slides, bounce houses, face painting, an autograph session, and souvenirs. Opening ceremonies will begin at 7. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Now more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicki Sawyer on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio with Senator Vicki Sawyer and David. If you'd like to be part of the show, 844-STUDIO-4. We are still streaming live on the WSIC News app or various social media platforms. You pick your poison. So before we get into a little state level stuff,
Yes.
just closing out on the national stuff. So obviously Kamala Harris is now the nominee.
Is she?
Well, I mean, for all intents and purposes,
The
apparently
Democratic Convention?
the super delegates have pledged themselves to her. So, I mean, absent, and Obama and has endorsed her. The Clintons have endorsed her. So, and I think once you've got all the super delegates, I don't know that anybody else can win. But, but presumably, yes, she is the nominee. Everybody's treating her as the nominee. No Democrat has stepped up to say they're running against her. So, for all intents and purposes, she's the nominee. So you obviously are the target demographic of who I think, everybody wants, the suburban, the college-educated, white suburban female. Obviously you're not going to vote for her, but but do you think that she moves the needle in that demographic in any meaningful way?
I think so. I just know what I'm hearing from friends in my friend group. I think she does for those who are my age group that are still have a trouble with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
There just are some of us, not me, but some of folks that do not have a love for Trump yet, even after the assassination attempt and everything. His policies are fantastic. And I feel like those folks who are they're intelligent, but the low informed voter, right? They want to vote. They want to make sure they do their civic duty, but they don't pay attention to politics. I think they really do just look at identity and look at someone who's, half his age or a third of his age and who is a woman of color and putting her in that position. I could see how it would be like a feel-good vote. And when you're seeing the polling numbers so close, then that really is a concern for North Carolina and North Carolina down ballot. So when we're talking about, the governor's race and the Council of State, which writes the Attorney General and Department of Insurance and all that other stuff, so many times those are actually determined by who you vote for president.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not always in North Carolina. I mean, we've seen in North Carolina history of people voting, for Trump and for Cooper, which you would think that that would not happen, but it has. But we have it.
And Cooper voted for Cooper and Robinson.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when he ran, so yeah, I mean, we do have a history of splitting.
Right. And so the prevailing wisdom or winds that I'm seeing coming out of Raleigh is they say if Trump can carry North Carolina by greater than like a 5-point spread, then that would actually elevate and keep the Republican Council of State, including the governor, there. But man, I'm telling you, I had the Olympics on in the background while I was working out of the house yesterday. And I was inundated in political ads. Have you seen these political ads?
I have seen them, yes.
It's a lot. I mean, and when I say a lot, it's not a lot for Robinson. It's a lot for Josh Stein. There was pro Josh Stein ads, and then there was a lot of negative Mark Robinson ads. And unfortunately, some of his business practices are coming into question. And there's this conversation, is this just persecution, kind of like the feds are doing with Trump and the FBI, drilling down on him, or is it really like malfeasance on the business level?
Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar with I think it's the DHHS is investigating
or had
investigated the firm that his wife runs. Because they do collect federal dollars and I think state tax dollars in the running of them and everything like that, and had released the findings and indicated, they indicate that there's malfeasance there.
Right.
Obviously, the lieutenant governor has said this is all politically motivated, which trust me, I have no trouble believing
I agree.
because the lion's share of the folks in our agencies at the state level are Democratic. They vote Democratic, so I have no problem believing that the investigation itself is politically motivated.
But, when you're getting these kind of bombshells, though, as early as July, it really makes you want to hold your breath to see what's coming in the future.
Well, and that's
the
true.
nerve-wracking part for me. And then just seeing the barrage of, money being spent this early on TV in the Charlotte market, that's a ton of money. It's
huge.
Robinson's going to have to answer it, because I almost feel like, I saw the same thing happen with Cooper v. Forrest, where Forrest just could not get his message out because Cooper was everywhere.
Well, and when you're on perpetual defense, it's very tough to get your message out. We do have a caller here on We're Just Saying on WSIC News. Hi, you're on with Senator Sawyer. Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good morning, Vicki. This is William.
Hey, William. How are you today, sir?
Pretty good. Vicki, last week you had your daughter on, and I have to say that you and your husband have done a good job raising your daughter. She's grown into a good prospective young woman, getting involved in realty like you and your husband were before you decided to get into the politics side of things.
Thank you.
Open-minded instead of being narrow-minded. If we can get all of us on that mindset, I think the better off this country overall would be. But that's easier said than done.
Thank you.
Anyway, I was just going to ask you a question. Kamala Harris, obviously, she's the nominee for the Democrat side of things. There's been speculation and rumors spreading and talks that we don't know for sure if she's going to be the nominee. With the Obamas endorsing her now, because that was part of the speculation that I was going to get to, that Michelle Obama might step up there to the plate and decide to be the runner for the Democrat. Now that they've endorsed her, that could not happen legally, could it? Or could it?
Well, I guess it does all come down to the national convention, the Democrat National Convention, and that is where they actually will vote and then move forward to have her as the nominee. So I think now it's just all promises, but once the convention happens in Chicago, in a couple weeks?
Yeah, so technically it could still happen that she was not the nominee. The indications we get now that the superdelegates are pledged to her. If that's the case, it would be extremely difficult for somebody else to come in. Now, if the superdelegates decide to break a different way or something like that, we could see, there is still a scenario where someone besides Kamala Harris could come out of that convention, because it is technically an open convention now with Biden saying, I'm not running. So all of those delegates are really up for grabs for anyone who can claim them. And they, like you said, we're being told they're pledged to her. Right. Could that change at the convention? There's any number of things that could change between now and the convention, but technically, somebody else could be the nominee.
Yeah, and I, talking to Jeff McNeely, we talked about that, and we wondered if maybe, they could go to the convention and not and then tell the rest of the story, so to speak, at the convention as to who the person's going to be running against Donald Trump. But yeah, I don't know. People get the misconception about Donald Trump. I'm not in love with the man. I'm not trying to vote him in as our preacher for our country. We go to church for that. And a lot of people get the misconception about that man. He's kind of like a junkyard dog, and they want him to lie down like a golden retriever, and that's just not going to happen. And the media knows that, and they played him the other day. He was set up, in my opinion, and they know it. And we just got to be smart about this as far as conservative side of things. We just got to play smart here, and it's happening on both sides. And it's just going to be interesting times we're going to be facing here in another 3 months.
Agreed.
It absolutely is. William, thank you so much for the call, brother. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
You too. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
William raises a great point. I believe he's probably referring to, Trump did a sit down at the
Yes.
Association of Black Journalists, I guess, national convention.
Mhm.
And Trump, you on one hand you can give him credit because he does go into unfriendly environments. He is not scared to go to. When he debated Joe Biden, it was on. He agreed to every single rule that they wanted. It was on CNN with moderators who clearly had no love for Trump. He has made he has never been one to shy away from going into confrontational environments. On the other hand, you can question the wisdom of doing it because knowing that there was no way in the world that anything would not be framed in any positive way on him. He would be on defense the entire time, and then coming out of that, what would be played in the larger mainstream media would be, the questions of, calling him racist and things he has said and things like that, and his inevitable reactions and his pushbacks to them, which is what he does. While, on one hand you can say, oh, you get points for going into an unfriendly environment. On the other hand, it's like the story that comes out of that environment, probably negates any points you collect.
Yeah.
So really it's, in the first rule of any campaign in my experience has been do no harm to yourself, right? That should be the first rule. And going into an environment like that, there's really very little opportunity for you to do anything positive coming out of it.
Sure. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see. And again, it just is going to come down to who's paying attention and not, and when they decided to vote. So we'll see how things work out and where the polling comes in at. And I just don't know, when we're talking about the Council of State and we're talking about elections like mine, I don't know how we're going to get any message across, because everything's going to be filled. The whole entire political space is going to be filled with Biden versus Harris versus Trump. It's just going to be absolutely hard to get any message across. And then if you can, it's going to be, the airways are going to be filled with the governor's race, I see. So
and at some point you hit complete and total saturation, right? Because you think about it in the Charlotte market, right? The few competitive races that might be in this market, but you're going to have Harris versus Trump ads flooded in all over the place. You're going to have Stein versus Robinson ads flooded in all over the place. And so once you have that, especially in this market, what is left to break through that if you're a congressional candidate or you're in a competitive House seat or something like that? Yeah. And so in races like these, people get burned out on political ads. And so the fact that, many are running now in July, they're trying to get out of the gate early. Yeah. Because once, once you get past Labor Day and everything like that, the opportunities to make an impact on people is going to be very difficult because of just pure saturation of political ads. Yeah. And we see it every cycle. We do. But it gets really, you almost sometimes long for, every now and then long for races that just aren't competitive, and there's not a lot of money going to be spent, whether on one side or the other, so I don't have to see the political ads.
I kind of wish we did like United Kingdom and only have like a season. Like there's a definite start to the season, and I can't remember, it's only like a few, maybe 100 days or something like that you can actually campaign. I'm all for that. So let's put that in the big idea boxes. Remember, no more electioneering. No more
electioneering, no more signs and right-of-ways.
No more signs and right-of-ways. And now a political season of less than 100 days or less, and that's the only time you can campaign.
That's the only time you can campaign.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Absolutely. Right here. So it is spoken, so it shall be. Yeah. You're listening to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio. We'll be right back.
We'll return with more of NC Senator Vicky Sawyer, and We're Just Saying after this short break on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
boy, a lot going on in the weather department for today. High heat again. That's going to be our big talker as temperatures climb into the mid and upper 90s. Feels like temperatures over 100, maybe even up to 110 in some spots. Heat advisories in effect for part of the Lake Norman area, and watch for around scattered thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. Gusty winds and frequent lightning possible in those. Still hot, upper 80s near 90 as we go into the weekend with scattered thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Looking for a large private room for your next work function? Or maybe you need a place to bring the whole family for a delicious meal? Pomodoros of Mooresville has the perfect space for your crowd. Book your next event at pomodoros.com.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle.
Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle. This back-to-school season, Tide and Downy are giving back with $1.5 million in scholarships. Enter to win. No purchase necessary. US/TC 17+. End September 30th. Rules. Tide.com/scholarship/official rules.
Fern Hill Baptist Church is a traditional fundamental congregation located in Troutman. Hear them Sunday mornings at 8:15 here on WSIC. Listen on demand, WSICFM.com.
Hi, this is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Have you considered how you would like for your family to handle your estate when the time comes? Call Crosswhite Law in Statesville today. Know that what you want, we'll have it. Crosswhite Law, 704-873-7233.
Increase your peace of mind and keep your family comfortable with propane tank monitoring from G&B Energy and Tank Utility. With this app, you can avoid running out of gas while you're grilling. Receive alerts when your tank is low and monitor your tank while you're away. Get peace of mind with G&B Energy's tank monitoring app today. Visit gbenergy.com or drop by 128 Entercraft Drive, Statesville. G&B Energy.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stock traders' fears of a softening labor market were realized in this morning's Labor Department jobs report for July, showing unemployment climbing for a fourth month to 4.3%, the highest level in nearly 3 years. The figures give the Federal Reserve some reason to believe their policies are cooling the labor market too much. Analysts now say it's likely the central bank will cut interest rates at their next policy meeting in September. All three major stock indexes are lower by around 2 to 3%. Better than expected profits for ExxonMobil in the second quarter has shares in the oil giant higher by nearly 1.4%. The company is the best performing major oil stock this year, thanks in part to its $63 billion acquisition of Pioneer Natural Resources in May that boosted Exxon's overall production by 15%, setting the stage for an average output this year of more than 4 million barrels of oil a day. I'm Scott Carr, Bloomberg Radio.
Call now to speak with NC Senator Vicky Sawyer at 844-STUDIO-4. It's We're Just Saying on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio with Senator Vicky Sawyer and David. Glad to be part of the show, 844-STUDIO-4. We are still streaming on the WSIC News app.
Yes.
So you were some local flair. You were quoted in the Observer this week. Another story on the Red Line and the efforts in Charlotte to get the to purchase the Norfolk Southern line for the Red Line to run through Mecklenburg County up north. So talk to me a little bit about sort of where things are at with that and sort of the crux of the story that you were part of this week.
Well, so first of all, I want to set out that I have not been part of the discussions since we passed the legislation that, just codified, law to make sure that there would be an interlocal agreement between the city of Charlotte and Iredell and Mooresville. My understanding is that those folks are in the room working through deals now, and I'm very hopeful that it goes through. So I was kind of kicking myself after I saw the article because it came out and it sounded like I was just a negative Nelly. And I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. But I do mean the fact that, when we are as electeds, part of some type of negotiations, and there's always this push and pull between electeds and staff, right? So we have to answer for a lot of things to the people and everything to the people. And sometimes it's staff driven. And when we're left out, and which we saw what Councilman Bakari was talking about down there, felt left out of the conversation on this new interlocal agreement, he displayed dismay. And I can understand that because I've been on those situations where staff has got something figured out, and then I'm the one who has to go and answer it for and to people, and you feel like a little not betrayed, but just when you learn about it from the news, then you feel like you have been overlooked, discounted, and not your office has not been what would you say, like just disrespected, just disrespectful. It's just disrespectful, right? Because you're the one who's going to have to answer to the questions from the folks, and you're the one who has to run for election every 2 years, and sometimes every 4 years, and then work through all of that stuff. So, but in saying all of that, I really do want the purchase of the Red Line to happen. It's a great opportunity. It's a historic opportunity for this type of public transit to happen. I mean, the North Mecklenburg area and folks have been paying for transportation on the Red Line that was actually promised to them since 1998 when another sales tax increase was there. So I applaud the city of Charlotte for moving forward and trying to get this done. I understand that there's some sticky points right now between the two of Iredell and Town of Mooresville and Charlotte, but it's my prayer and hope that all can be done and work through so that in September they can execute the deal.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, and for those who have been in elected office before, I think there's a little bit more of an understanding of I mean, when things like this come along, especially the big things, right? There are things that come through that are staff driven, and that are driven by staff and then brought to electeds, and there's things that are elected driven that are passed off to staff to work out the details and then bring back. And it is a delicate balance as to how much involvement electeds have while staff's doing it, and how much involved staff is while electeds are working with other electeds. So it is a delicate balance, and there's a lot of room there for wires to get crossed, miscommunication, things, because if something goes haywire, right, all of a sudden you can have a staff member saying, what happened? That's not where we were. The same for an elected official. Well, what happened? That's not where we were. That's always my understanding. Yeah. And when you're talking about something as big as the Red Line and as complicated as what this Red Line purchase is, and all the moving parts and all the necessary things to make it go, inevitably there are going to be those challenges and those speed bumps. Yeah. But I agree with you. I think, absent a better option right now that we do not have, right? I know we've talked Channel before, I'm all on board on the Channel. I'm still a Channel fan. When or if that could ever happen, who knows? But, in the near term, right, the Red Line is something that has been talked about for a very long time. Commuter rail would be huge coming up this direction. Sure. Especially, I was thinking about the other day, I was saying, even if it came tomorrow, I wasn't going to ride it. And so, but it was actually my daughter who actually brought up a great point. She was just like, hey, but Dad, what about when you've got to go to, when you're old and don't want to drive anymore, and you got to get down to Charlotte for a doctor or a specialist or something like that. And I was like, that's actually a good point, because and really the decision to buy this isn't for now. It's for 20 years from now. Correct. And what we're going to look like as an overall community and as a region 20 years from now, because this is not happening overnight. This is going to take many, many years to put into place, assuming everything happens the way it should. So, and I'm with you. I hope this happens. I think it's a historic opportunity. It's something that's been talked about for a very long time. And so I think if people, acting in good faith and in good conscience who want this for the region can get some things worked out, I think it would be great. Yeah, I do too. And it's something that we need to do because, the Lake Norman is beautiful and it's amazing and it has so many assets, but ease of movement and transportation and building roads is not one of them. It is not one of them. That is the downfall. So there's really no other corridor that we could do and improve to make sure that we have that connectivity to the city of Charlotte
in the North Mecklenburg and South Iredell areas. And so we just need to move forward. And transportation is absolutely, one of the number one issues. I have a new car. I don't know if I told you this. I got a Tesla.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
Okay. So I love it. Now, got in trouble at the Tesla opening in North Meck. They just opened a new service center in North Mecklenburg County. And I got out there and I was like, I'm not doing this because I like the environment. And it's true. I'm doing it because it's fast and it drives for me.
And it drives for you.
I was not the crowd to say that in. I did not do a good job with that one because, I have read studies that show that, EVs actually's carbon footprint is a little bit larger than what it is. And sometimes
when you factor in the batteries and the disposables,
Yeah. Sometimes I think you're just trading air pollution for ground pollution. But let me tell you what, it is so stinking fast and it is so awesome. And that self-drive capability going to Raleigh is amazing. It has really lowered the stress level for me getting back and forth to Raleigh, and it is fantastic. I cannot talk more about it. But talking about different types of modes of transportation, I will ride the train any chance I get to go to Raleigh because it is just so convenient and nice. And it just is a thing that continues ridership is more and more. So, again, I do want to apologize a little bit because I feel like I came off the wrong way in that article. I do want this to happen. I do want them to be successful and move forward because it is very important for the interconnectivity of our region and transportation to get this deal done.
No, absolutely 100%. And then something else sort of local that has come up with the Southern Environmental Law Firm. Coal ash is back.
Yeah.
It seems like that it seems like it never left or anything like that. So talk a little bit about what's going on now. And it comes from the Tire World thing up in Mooresville,
Tire
right?
Masters.
Tire Masters.
Yeah. So for longtime listeners of the show know that I have been a concern of mine from the very beginning of when I was elected is in a number of what they call beneficial fill or structural fill sites of coal ash in and around the Lake Norman community. This is something that was a building practice a long time ago. It was very common to go and I've even heard of local stories of people going to get a load of ash and putting in their garden because it would make it better. But over time, there's been concerns about how these areas have been maintained, and thankfully, we had worked with the DEQ, North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, to go and test these structural fill sites. We've done tons. Now, when I say we, independent researchers have done tons of soil samples and water samples. And if you want any of those kinds of information, go to Iredell County Department of Health's webpage and look for the timeline on coal ash. There's 2 buckets there. We also looked at thyroid cancer, so that's in one bucket, but the other bucket is coal ash. And it will show you all of the testing, all the research, everything that we do and continue to do to look at any type of environmental concerns that it does have in this ash in the ground. We had a new report come out with a local investigative reporter, and I applaud him for continuing to bring issues or attention to the matter because I do want to make sure that our community is safe. At the end of the day, I want to make sure our community, our kids, is safe and make sure there's no toxins in there. And so whatever that commitment has been the entire time I've worked on this, that's never been in question. But in his reporting, he said that there's been no testing and he's going to go out there, and he did like a shovel full of stuff. That's absolutely incorrect. There has been so many tests done. And again, go to Iredell County Department of Health's webpage, look at this timeline that we have been working on this since 2018. We've had a group, and now we have actually got state funding to do and fund a statewide thyroid cancer study to make sure that our communities are safe. So please, thank you for continuing to follow the story. I'm glad that we have continuing coverage. The law firm, Southern Environmental Law Firm, is asking for EPA to review. I'm glad that they're doing that. Again, we want to make sure our community's safe. But as of right now, go to that webpage, find the actual facts, and I appreciate you guys doing that.
Absolutely. You're listening to We're Just Saying. We'll be right back.
There's more We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Oh boy, a lot going on in the weather department for today. High heat again. That's going to be our big talker as temperatures climb to the mid and upper 90s. Feels like temperatures over 100, maybe even up to 110 in some spots. Heat advisories in effect for part of the Lake Norman area, and we'll watch for around and scattered thunderstorms for the afternoon and evening. Gusty winds and frequent lightning possible in those. Still hot, upper 80s near 90 as we go into the weekend with scattered thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Birkdale Village in Huntersville welcomes back Dave Scott Crow and his Amusination Academy performance on Thursday, August 1st. Dave's concert and Pick Me Up open mic are events for the kids and the entire family. The show begins at 4:30 p.m. on the green. Parents, grandparents, and kids of all ages are welcome on Thursday afternoon at Birkdale Village for Dave Scott Crow's Amusination Academy. Langtree Live in Mooresville continues their free concert series on Thursday, August 1st. Langtree Lake Norman is open for eats and drinks all afternoon, with Bad Romeo taking the stage at 7 p.m. From AC/DC to Whitesnake, Bad Romeo will bring back your 80s rock memories. Grab your lawn chairs, arrive early to get your favorite spot, and enjoy Langtree before, during, and after the show. We'll see you in Mooresville Thursday night for the Bad Romeo concert at Langtree Lake Norman. Friday night, Birkdale Village hosts Live Under the Oaks in Huntersville. String Theory presents a free concert from 6 to 8. Birkdale restaurants are open for dinner, while Red Rocks will serve beverages on-site at the concert. Come on out Friday night for the String Theory concert at Birkdale Village. The Cookout Monster Truck Bash is at the dirt track at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday, August 17th. Sparks will fly as the metal-bashing 2,000 horsepower machines return for a night of high-flying action on the planet's most diabolical outdoor course. Gates open at 4 p.m. Bring a Cookout Cup for free early access to the pit party beginning at 3:30. Pit party includes monster truck rides, inflatable slides, bounce houses, face painting, an autograph session, and souvenirs. Opening ceremonies will begin at 7. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com or the CMS app for information and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
It's We're Just Saying with North Carolina Senator Vicky Sawyer on 105.9 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying on WSIC News Radio with Senator Vicky Sawyer and David. Glad to be part of the show, 844 Studio 4. We are still streaming live on the WSIC News app.
Yes.
So some good news for travelers along Highway 150. Thank goodness. It looks like finally DOT is going to put the bid out for the work.
Yes, on Highway 150 in Mooresville. Now remember, this is a state highway that connects east to west. It's one of the only two that does an east to west connection across Lake Norman. We talked about that beautiful lake being hard to get around. Well, this is one of the only two options. Highway 73 is also another one. But I remember attending community meetings back in 2016 or 17, and they told us at that time that the bid would be let in 2019. And let means just like, opens up for bid. So thankfully, 5 years later, we got it. But I mean, there was a lot of things with the agency that they went through that, didn't allow them to do it. But now it is fully funded. We are seeing some movement. In October, they're going to let the project. We're going to have Highway 150 being built. Thank the dear Lord.
How long is the bid process? Was it 30 days?
Yeah, it can be a little bit longer than that. I don't really remember for sure. But again, and it will start in Mooresville and go out towards the lake. So that's a big congestion area. Mm-hmm. We already have Brawley School Road moving around down there, the extension of that. And so Highway 21. And this is very, very local, but I'm super excited about it after years of pestering the DOT again. I'm pretty sure they have a dart board with my picture on it. I'm always positive it's highly likely. For those of you who live in my neck of the woods, there will and is a stoplight being constructed at the intersection of Cornelius and Perth Road. And hopefully we'll get that up and going so that those kids who are going to Lake Norman High School will have a little bit easier, safer route to get there. So
Awesome.
we are seeing movement. It has been actually, I kind of felt satisfied a little bit this past week, which is not very often for me, especially as an elected, because everyone tends to let you know what you don't do right. And then
Truth.
yeah, you think about, what have you done for me lately? But I'm looking back and I'm like, you know what? We've gotten some traffic improvements that would not have come to our area without, me pushing and
Oh, yeah.
clawing and fighting and holding them accounting and getting them more funding and continue to work through it. So I'm proud of the town of Mooresville working with DOT. I'm proud of DOT, for patiently working with me, and so that we can have better mobility all across our area. So now I'm sure the conversation will happen about everybody frustrated that there's traffic on 150, construction traffic on 150, but okay. Okay.
And here's the thing about it is that, look, I mean, having lived with 150 for many, many, many years, going on 24 years, I am ready to see some construction start happening there and like that. Also, I fully understand that there will be delays associated with said construction. So if you are one of those people that have been pushing and on social media and raising a mortal cane about 150, when's it going to start? It's got to get done. It's got to get done. And once this begins, now understand there will be more traffic. You have lost all right to complain because what it takes, it's going to take time. Nobody snaps their fingers. This is going to take time. Construction is going to hold up traffic. You cannot complain.
Right.
You have lost your ability to complain going forward. And if you continue to do it, then I'm sorry, there's just no pleasing you. There's no pleasing anybody at this point. Turn in your social media warrior card. You can no longer complain about 150 once that construction starts.
Oh, but they will.
Oh, but they will.
Oh,
no doubt they will. They will. I'm sure that another online petition will be signed from people in Iowa about 150. Because there's a group that loves doing those.
I don't understand that. It's just like, why be so negative all the time? Like, it's just so crazy to me. Why?
Well, and that's your shtick. It gets you attention and likes and everything like that. Everybody likes to feel important, even if they won't come out of their house. Hey, these people listen to me on social media.
Yeah. I was speaking about one contentious thing that I didn't really show prep you for, but I do want to tell, because we have some very intent listeners who've asked me about.
We've had conversations about this. You're not supposed to just drop things
I know.
on me.
This is an easy one. All right. So we have some very loyal listeners who've asked me about vehicle emissions testing.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is an easy one.
That's okay. Okay.
This
go
is
ahead,
an easy
go
one.
ahead.
Okay. In last year's budget, we as a General Assembly moved to remove, I think it was 18 of the 19 counties that still have to have emissions testing. So if you if you have your vehicle in Yadkin County, you don't have to have an emissions test. But if you're in Iredell County, you do. And there was other 18 counties around the state that is the same way. So we passed a law saying that asking the EPA to remove all the counties for the air quality stuff. Mecklenburg County would be the one holdout. And you can only do it if the air emissions quality testing has been at a certain level over, whatever. So anyways, we did that. It just took the DEQ until now to petition the EPA. Like, they haven't even done it yet. They think they're going to petition the EPA to remove those counties. And that process can take up to 18 months.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're an Iredell County resident or one of the other 18 counties that still have emission testing, the General Assembly got it done. The DEQ hasn't gotten it quite done yet. And then it goes up to the Environmental Protection Agency to release us, and they can take up to 18 months. So you probably will have an emissions testing for the next couple of years easily. But eventually,
hopefully,
you'll be out of the emissions testing. No more government.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's okay. There'll be that fee will because when you go and get inspected, your emissions testing, so there's a fee in there for that. So I'm sure that fee is not going to go away.
In an area of talking about air quality, the air quality is a little different in Cherokee these days.
Yes, they've gone live with
recreational
marijuana.
Yeah. So if 21 years of age or older, you can go up to is it Koala? I can't remember. I always say that wrong, but into the Cherokee Nation. It's called the Great Smoky Cannabis Company. And they announced on social media August 1st that they will open adult use recreational marijuana on September 7th, making it the first recreational marijuana dispensary in North Carolina.
History being made all across North Carolina.
Yeah. So that is interesting. It seems like they've had an uptick in tourism related to that, I guess. But also remember that if you are curious and you go up there and you buy it and then you come home with it, you are creating and committing a crime.
If you leave the Cherokee Nation,
Yeah.
you are now transporting and committing. You will be committing a crime if caught.
Although I think in downtown Raleigh that the Cherokee Nation's already there because
Look, I'm being fair with you. I walk around downtown Raleigh. I walk around downtown Charlotte. I smell it everywhere.
I know.
So to be fair, I think that there's only so many things you can enforce, and the random dude smoking a joint just seems to be the thing that kind of just isn't really a high priority these days.
I wonder what happened to all of the dogs that were trained to sniff out for cannabis. I mean, are they just had a retirement party? I mean, what do you do
yeah,
now?
those have been retired a long time ago. I mean, now they got to sniff for heroin and and fentanyl and all these other things. It's like they can only smell so many different things.
I know.
Your pal, I mean, of course, that is an interesting question. Like, how many differentiating scents can a dog pick up between drugs? I would be interested to know that.
I would be interested to know that because it seems like so I just went to overseas, not really overseas over the Gulf of Mexico to Cozumel, and so a dog had hit on my luggage, but I realized had put some fruit in there from the beginning, and I think that's what he hit on was that I'd had an orange and like some other stuff in there before I had to throw it out because I don't even know what I was, whatever. But that I don't know. I don't know how many. I don't know.
I'll have to figure that out. That might be something I have to use
That
the
would
Google
be
machine
really,
on.
really fun. Although, okay, so we have to make a call on something.
What's that?
Rated X.
I mean, we got one. I found
not great,
it.
Though.
I mean, it's not great, but to be fair, it's summertime. People have been slacking off. The Ukraine Flag Brigade probably, taking some vacations, and I mean, with everything going on nationally, the Twitter warriors, or excuse me, the X warriors, their time's being really spent on Trump and Kamala. I mean, they've only got so much bandwidth. I mean, they can't always be focused on you, Vicky.
I know. I just really.
I mean, there's only so many hours in the day for them to clap back at people on X. I mean, it's an important job. It's something they've committed their time and resources to, so they have to prioritize themselves.
Well, they're not prioritizing it on me, although I did get a fat call, so there we go.
Oh, you did get one of those.
I got one.
But that's just not even creative.
I know.
That's just not even creative.
It's just like.
But you did. Let's see. You did post during the when the assassination attempt happened to please pray for President Trump,
sure,
and everything like that. And Bezos loves you.
What?
Bezos loves you.
Okay. I'm assuming doesn't love me.
No, does not. It says recovery. His ear got nicked. Give us a blanking break. This was a false flag planned by Republicans. Like, here's the deal. As a Republican, who has been in the party for a very long time, who has seen the inter-party dynamics, the party apparatus from local to state to federal, there is no way in the world this could be false flag because we are not qualified to pull it off. I'm sorry, we are not qualified to pull it off.
True.
There are so many things we can't do well. Like, I mean, the things we screw up are amazing messaging and the opportunities we let pass us by and like that. You think we could pull off a false flag operation? As a staunch member of this party, I'm telling you, it could not happen. It can't happen.
Just
I'm
look
sorry.
At this Congress to know that we can't pull anything off. I mean,
exactly.
good God, we have a slim majority.
We can't keep a speaker. We can't keep a speaker. But you think we can plan a false flag operation against the president and nick him in the ear? Come on, people. There's only so much suspension of disbelief that can occur here. Trust me.
That's so true.
I can promise you. And you have any big plans for the weekend?
I do. My baby girl is going to ECU, so we have an early move-in. So we're right after the show, getting on the road and taking off our first load at ECU. How about yourself?
No big plans for the weekend. Hopefully to keep it a little low key.
Yeah.
Enjoy the. I've been very busy traveling and everything like that, so hoping to keep it a little low key before next week when I'm sure some other insane thing gets started.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for listening.
I'm so glad we were back together.
Me
Everybody,
too.
thanks for listening to us. Enjoy your weekend. This was We're Just Saying. We'll talk to you next week.